The greatest purpose of using gaslighting techniques is to cause confusion and tear down the self esteem of others. And because the tactics used in gaslighting situations are so effective, no one's completely immune from them. Gaslighting is any effort used to cause doubt on your perspective of reality. It can appear in any connection where there's an imbalance of power, including family and friends, at your place of employment, especially in the medical industry, um, in academia, and society as a whole. It's not just done in your romantic relationships. The intent to undermine one's ego, strengths, and personal beliefs creates this uncertainty, making it challenging to tell when gaslighting's even taking place. The payout for the person who is gaslighting is the erosion of their target self esteem, which allows them to gain control over the other person and perpetuate various cycles of abuse. We start off by defining what self esteem is, and it's the belief on one's ability to be content, deserving, and capable of obtaining what one needs to successfully move through life. To the narcissist or the person who's gaslighting you, a person having high or strong self esteem is scary because it takes away their ability to effectively be emotionally abusive. They have little to no control over the other person. A fundamental component of self protection is awareness, which is essential in those situations because the gaslighting individual might intensify their attempts to mentally break their victims. So, let's talk about the four different ways that gaslighters try to ruin your self esteem. The first strategy is deception. Even when you present them with evidence, a person who's trying to gaslight you to they're going to blatantly deny any wrongdoing and then try to manipulate the truth to work in their favor. The gaslighter will do and say whatever they can in order to make their target feel as if they're crazy for thinking they would or could do anything negative in the first place. It it doesn't matter how bizarre the situation appears to be. This is what they're going to do. And this form of gaslighting leads to confusion and self-doubt, as the target's thoughts will become distorted to fit the gaslighter's version of reality, or the reality that they want instead of the reality as it is. An example could go something like, a client goes to their hairstylist or a barber, and the barber cuts a chunk out of their hair. And instead of owning the fact that they messed up, they try to convince the client that there wasn't a chunk cut out, but the client has an odd shaped head. Or they convince the client that the client moved and it's their fault that the chunk was cut out. The best one that I've seen was the barber convincing the client that this is what they asked for. And now that they have it, they just don't like it and they're trying to purposefully ruin their business reputation. When considering self esteem, having a firm grasp on reality is essential. Studies have shown us that reality therapy, which is a client centered form of cognitive behavioral therapy, is an effective therapy for improving your self esteem. This form of therapy focuses on improving current situations in our lives as opposed to fixating on problems from the past, and helping us to get the needs met in our present. A person who intends to gaslight wants absolutely nothing to do with the reality of the present, and will they'll instead continue to fixate on the past, which is more difficult to organize and defend. Strategy number two is indirect persuasion. Now, this type of gaslighting usually occurs after the love bombing stage, when the target has cultivated love and affection for their targeted individual. Once they have your trust, they can more skillfully offer suggestions that are counter to your genuine preferences while still appearing innocent in the situation. Believe it or not, this tactic is used a lot, so much so that we often don't even recognize it as a gaslighting technique. For example, you have a partner who's always throwing out insults about a partner that they had in the past while simultaneously giving you compliments in order to get you to comply with things that they want from you now. They may say things like, "Oh, well, me and my ex, we argued all the time, but you never fight with me." Or my ex always needed to talk or text or be with me, and you're nowhere near as needing and smothering as they are. These so called compliments are effective forms of manipulation meant to silence your desires, needs, and emotions. And if you find that you decide to voice your opposing opinions, your abuser will probably respond with the silent treatment or other verbally aggressive behaviors, whether it be overt or covert. The idealized version of you that they've created could be lost if you have your own perspective. Yet, constantly suppressing your feelings and thoughts is bad for your self esteem since it prevents you from thinking independently and standing up for yourself. Strategy number three is projection. We all understand projection. Anyone who uses projection tactics to gaslight is someone who struggles with their own self esteem. And instead of working on their own personal development, they choose to shred the esteem of others. It's the whole pot calling the kettle black. It's just a short way of saying that a person is defending their own insecurities through denial and pushing them onto others. Once the gaslighter has negatively affected your self esteem, causing all types of doubt, it makes accusations about your character flaws more believable. No one should intentionally want to make you feel bad about yourself or to diminish your self esteem or your self worth, no matter what. And if you find yourself in a cycle where someone is constantly like just on you all the time, it's likely that you're experiencing gaslighting in the form of projection. For example, you're constantly being accused of lying. The question your every movement, who you speak to, where you go, what you're doing, and so on and so forth. 9 times out of 10, they are projecting their own actions onto you. They are the ones who are constantly lying about where they are and what they're doing. And instead of confronting their own personal issues with truth telling, they simply make everyone around them out to be the same type of habitual liar that they are. The fourth strategy is what I like to call crowdfunding. So, we all understand that the objective of crowdfunding is to collect small amounts of funds from a large group of people in order to finance a project. With a gaslighter, the equivalent of crowdfunding is them aligning other people against their target. The gaslighter essentially tries to convince their target that other people think that they're as crazy as the gaslighter says. In some cases, they actually manage to get other people to join in with them. This tactic is neither casual nor passive. Instead, it is overtly dismissive and aggressive, further eroding the target's self esteem and making it difficult to connect with positive feelings about themselves. Imagine if you woke up in the hospital and were told that you suffered a mental breakdown and everything that you thought happened last week was just a dream. Now imagine it wasn't just one person who told you this, but a collection of people, even people that you care about. The effects of a thorough gaslighting regimen can feel just as disarming. By working to align others against you, it's less likely that you're going to reach out. even though processing your experience and getting support from the people you trust is exactly what you need. So, how do you bounce back from the gaslighting? First of all, you have to reclaim your self esteem and your sense of reality. Having a good connection with others who are mentally healthy can help to improve your self esteem after you've been gaslit. The very last person that you'll be able to count on to help you to build your self esteem is the person who is consistently tearing you down. Essentially, you have no choice but to remove yourself from being in the presence of the person who's constantly gaslighting you. Any attempts that you make to protect yourself will likely be countered with additional gaslighting tactics, since they don't want you to have faith in your ability to experience joy and love. Choosing not to return to the gaslighting person is the first step that you need to take to reclaim you for who you are. The next step is addressing your inner dialogue. Compassionate self talk can be an effective technique to reclaim your feeling of self worth and reality, because self esteem is an experience that is achieved through thoughts and perceptions. You have to talk to yourself the way that you would talk to your best friend, or to your child, or someone that you love or care about, with lots of validation and encouragement and compliments and forgiveness and compassion. You can give it a try by considering a goal that you're having trouble achieving and reflecting on how you typically talk to yourself about it. Now, consider if you would say these things to the person that you love, the friend or family member that you're close to and you don't want to hurt. If not, how may you rephrase them in a sympathetic manner? More original thinking and proactive behavior will arise from having a growth mindset and being willing to make mistakes without beating yourself up for making them. And the final and perhaps most crucial step is deciding to be in the company of encouraging individuals. Get perspective from others about the gaslighting and fact check with yourself and with them. If you're not ready to reach out and delve into your painful experiences, spend time with your inner self through journaling or meditation or just speaking out loud. Sorting through your feelings can help you to regain your reality, and it allows you to remember that you're not crazy, you're not alone, and you're not broken.